Hello and welcome to today's talk about B2B sales and marketing. With me in the studio today we have two experts that are working as advisors with account-based marketing at InZynk. And we're going to discuss different strategies around B2B sales and marketing. Nice to have you here with me today. Eric and Christopher, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to dig deeper in the topic around B2B sales and marketing.
Yes, there are certain things that we discuss with our clients and prospects every day. And there are three common scenarios that we often encounter, which we will try to break down and discuss the pros and cons when we think at least they are suitable and when they are not.
So we're going to have a look at these different scenarios that you have created and visualized. And they're a bit provocative too, right?
Could be.
So in the first scene, we are seeing what happens between sales and marketing after trade shows and events. Let's have a look. So, Eric, is this how it looks in reality today? Because lots of companies are using events and trade shows to meet new decision makers and get airtime with clients, but I don't really see the cons around it.
Well, we're not saying that you shouldn't do trade shows and events. It's a quite good strategy in order to meet some of the decision makers that you want to meet and some of the most important clients that you have. But you're also spending a lot of time and budget to do so, and also betting a lot on this very one or few days. Most of the companies that we work with also have very long sales cycles, maybe up to a year, meaning that you're betting everything on one day out of 365.
So what are the consequences?
Well, I would say there's basically two major consequences. First of all, you will be forgotten. The human brain is quite interesting since we forget things quite fast. I think the forgetting curve is quite steep, meaning that, well, no one will remember you. And the second consequence is that, well, like I mentioned, you only meet some of the decision makers, just a small portion of the actual buying organization.
And you're using a lot of budget for this one day or these few occasions.
Exactly.
So I would say, just to kind of summarize our view, at least on trade shows and events, it does have a place in the mix, but you will reach too few decision makers, too seldom. And remember that all your competitors will be there as well. So we just don't think you should put all eggs in one basket.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's more about not focusing too much money and time on a few occasions.
I think frequency is key, both in sales and marketing, in order to be able to stay top of mind within the buying organizations of your most important clients and prospects.
So on to the next scene, where we will look at some things you just mentioned here. So what happens when salespeople engage with too few people in the buying organization? Let's have a look.
That guy looked absolutely miserable right there.
Definitely.
And to be fair, this is actually such a common thing in B2B, that salespeople talk to or rely on too few stakeholders. Might even have happened to us once or twice as well. And I think this also creates a big problem for businesses and for management in terms of forecasting. Like when salespeople are using pipeline by gut instead of pipeline by fact, it creates a massively inflated pipeline.
But it seems quite difficult because if you talk to the right people, you're talking to the right people. Isn't that enough?
I would say in general, if you talk to 2 to 3 decision makers, you're in trouble. And if you're involved in bigger, more complex deals, I don't think you're going to win that deal. Simple as that. Even if you, as a salesperson, talk to maybe 10 people, you can be sure that there's at least 20 more people that you will never get to meet. And it's so important to create a consensus in the buying organization.
And that's super difficult. I mean, how do you influence people that you don't even know who they are?
Yeah.
So how do you know who they are?
Well, you never do. That's the thing. Because there will be formal and informal decision makers, whilst the formal ones basically don't have time to have meetings with vendors and salespeople. There will probably be a research group doing that thing, while the rest of the whole buying committee remain anonymous. But there are things and ways to get to know them and to reach them.
Yeah, and to visualize that a little bit, to show the viewers here, salespeople can and should, of course, create deep relationships with key stakeholders, whereas marketing with today's tools can reach and influence everyone within that organization.
That's the thing. I remember when I worked as a salesperson in the non-digital era, where you basically recorded pickups and really trusted on that meeting to be with the actual stakeholder, making, like you mentioned before, the forecast very hard to see truth in, basically. Whereas with today's marketing tools, there's a massive support for sales. Well, your marketing departments can influence and position you as a brand, vendor, salesperson within those buying organizations, creating a digital consensus, which is quite mind-blowing.
So the important thing is to make sure you influence the people beyond sales contacts.
I would say that's key.
Yeah, and it's okay maybe to not know the name of everyone involved.
Yes.
Seems like a high-risk approach to just rely on the people that sales talk to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So another strategy that the organization seems to be focusing on right now is lead generation. What about that approach?
I'd love to talk about it. I think first let's have a look at the next scene.
Definitely.
Okay, so this was obviously a very bad lead. Just someone downloading something from the website, not interested to speak with sales at all. And I would say this happens a lot.
So what you're saying is that lead generation doesn't work, or?
No, not at all. Of course, there are many good leads as well out there. And I think when I speak for everyone in sales, that we all love a good lead. We sure do, at least. The important thing for me related to lead generation is that it's a quite reactive approach. So you're waiting for someone to download something on your website and become this named individual, which means you will be quite late because that person has probably been out researching for quite some time and become a lead in your competitors' systems as well.
I would also say that lead generation tactics place the wrong incentive on marketing activities. By focusing on leads, you also automatically optimize your way of working towards getting more leads, not the right leads. And I would say the chance of that person downloading that thing or becoming that lead, that person is from your most important target accounts, that they are a stakeholder with actual power to do the deal with you is quite small. So
it's a lot of focus on quantity instead of quality.
Exactly.
Which is, I guess, also very time-consuming and costly.
Yeah, definitely. And in average B2B deals, the vast majority of leads will never turn into deals. according to research at least, it's only 1 to 3% of leads that become deals.
That's very low. But aren't companies keeping track of the effect of their lead generation?
From what I've seen, no. If they would probably do something different or other things in order to solve that. But they're focusing on this way of isolating marketing almost and making the lead handover the sort of claiming that's the collaboration between marketing and sales.
And it's not like we are in any way anti-leads. Again, we love a good lead, but we think it's important for companies to remember that while a lead, it might be the beginning of your sales journey, sometimes a long journey ahead, but it's still quite late in the buying journey, which we can't forget. So what we are against is really this lead obsession that's all marketing can do, when we all know they can do so much more.
And maybe that's because what they've always been doing. But what you're saying here is that marketing should actually support during the ongoing sales process.
Most of the companies that we work with try to align marketing and sales towards almost a common list of target accounts, which means a lot to them, that has a great potential of revenue. And they use each other's powers and knowledge in order to emphasize on those specific deals, working together until you actually close that specific deal.
Unleash marketing's superpowers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I can tell you're both very passionate about this, maybe a bit frustrated too.
Yeah, I usually hear from my clients that my passion comes from a great deal of frustration, yes.
So let's see how it could look like when the marketeers releases this superpowers. So what did we just see here?
So what we just saw, I would say, was a really good example of sales and marketing being in sync. So this was clearly a very important account for this salesperson. And he could easily increase his visibility and presence towards that account. And instead of only influencing the people that he could meet or talk to, he was able to influence the entire organization, which I think is really cool. So what we just witnessed was a super targeted type of advertising. Advertising only shown to this specific company and with a customized message specifically for them. And while it may be difficult to advertise like outside office windows, it's actually super easy digitally today.
So what are your most important recommendations if you want to work like this?
Well, I wouldn't say that you should stop everything that you already are doing. But what you should consider is to have some sort of strategy towards your most important target accounts. The target accounts that actually are will have a high potential of converting into revenue for your organization.
So companies that are not working like this, what are the consequences?
Well, the consequences are that, well, mainly you will start losing business, maybe to competitors or to the fact that your initiative doesn't get the attention needed. From what we've heard and seen and discussed with other companies is that companies not focusing on their key accounts in a more surgical way, both from a marketing and sales perspective, will always talk to few stakeholders, never everyone involved in the buying organization. They will talk to them too late. And they will talk to them too seldom.
So if companies want to address these issues, what should they do?
Yeah, there are three things that we generally recommend to start doing. First, to align sales and marketing, group them together, and align on what companies are most prioritized for your business. And two, start arranging monthly meetings between sales and marketing, focusing on these selected accounts and start sharing insights, both digital and physical insights per account. And three, plan how to move forward, to initiate different things and tweak various tactics that you have specifically for these organizations. And the most important thing is that you do it together, so you can strengthen each other.
That sounds like a great start. Thank you so much for today. So interesting to hear more about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So today we have listened to Christopher and Eric on account-based marketing. And what I bring with me from today's session is to really make sure that sales and marketing are collaborating on the target accounts that matters the most for your revenue. And to make sure to release marketing's superpowers.